gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of The Draw Step. Today, in celebration of Tarkir Dragonstorm being out and all of these incredibly powerful, great new dragon commanders, I took it upon myself as a little bit of a challenge. This was also suggested by a subscriber, to make one of the least popular dragon commanders of all time a commander deck. One of the least powerful legendary dragons out there, and turn it into a powerful deck. So, the commander that we are working with is Darigaaz Reincarnated. He costs 7 mana, 4 generic, and then black, red, green, for a 7/7 with flying, trample, and haste. It says if Darigaaz Reincarnated would die, instead, exile it with 3 egg counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Darigaaz is exiled with an egg counter on it, remove an egg counter from it. Then if it has no egg counters on it, return to the battlefield. So technically, it can get around commander tax just by doing that, but that also sidelines your commander for 3 turns. So most times you could probably pay for it. And that's his entire ability, right? Like, all that he says is that he can go to exile as opposed to sitting in the command zone having to pay the 2 extra to bring him back. On the other hand, he is a 7/7 with flying, trample, and haste, so that is pretty... it's a pretty hefty stat line. There's certainly quite a bit that you can do with it, but it is by no means the most popular. Like, it's no Dragon. This isn't something where on its face just the commander alone brings a lot to the table. So we had to do quite a bit of heavy lifting with the rest of the 99 to make this a strong deck that's going to win you quite a few games. That being said, let's get into it. Starting out, we got a bunch of just basic lands. The whole deck list for this deck will be in the description below, so you can check it out if you want to build a Darigaaz deck. Next, we have our non-basic lands. I'm just going to go through these quickly. The main thing with this is just for the mana fixing to make sure you have all 3 colors when you need it to get your commander out. We have a couple value piece cards. Not necessarily a lot of synergy, but just helpful along the way. The first is Balrog of Moria for 7 mana. It's an 8/8 with trample and haste. And when it dies, you may exile it. When you do, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target creature that player controls. That's kind of nice, some destruction there. Otherwise, you can cycle it for 4 mana, discard, draw a card. And when you cycle it, you get create 2 treasure tokens. So that creates some temporary ramp for you if you want to go that direction. Either way, you have a lot of flexibility. You either have a massive swinging body, or you can do that to draw a card and get some treasure tokens, some ramp there. Speaking of drawing cards and treasure tokens, we have Big Score for 4 mana. You have to discard a card, but then you get to draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens. And as we'll get into later, ramping is a big piece of this because we want to be able to get our commander out as quickly as possible, so we want to have that mana and get ahead of our opponents. Thrill of Possibility, 2 mana, again, discard a card and draw 2 cards. Rishker's Expertise for 6 mana. Draw cards equals to Grace power among creatures you control. So again, as soon as we get our commander out, it's 6 mana, you get draw 7 cards. Plus, you can cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. That's pretty great value there as well, too, on top of having drawn all the cards. And then Restart Sequence. For 4 mana, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, but it has free running. So if you've done commander damage this turn, you can pay only 2 mana to return a creature to the battlefield. So that is tremendous value right there. Next, as I said, ramping is huge in this deck. With how expensive our commander is, with how expensive some of our other pieces are, we want to be able to get the mana we need to get rolling as quickly as possible. One of the greatest ramp pieces I think they have created as of late is Fanatic of Rohan's. 2 mana for a 1/4 that taps for 1 green, but you can tap and add 4 green if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, which again, our commander is going to hit that, so that will give us some ramp having our commander out. Otherwise, if this creature dies, you can eternalize it. You can pay 4 mana, exile it from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie, blah, blah, blah. So, again, if this creature dies, then you now, it comes back to the battlefield, and it does the stipulation, creature with power 4 or greater. It is a creature with power 4 or greater, so then it would be tapping for that 4 mana. So that is pretty great value right there as well. Vastwood Surge, 4 mana, and it has kicker 4. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them on a battlefield, tap, then shuffle. The spell's kick, put 2/1/1 counters on each creature you control. We have quite a few other dragons, we have quite a few other large creatures, so you can just do it as a 4 mana, get 2 lands, or if you have the mana, if it's later in the game, you can buff your army as well too, so that's very nice. Radha, Heir to Keld, taps for 1 mana, but if it attacks, it can tap for 2. Ruby Daring Tracker, taps for either red or green. A Soul Ring, because every deck should have the Soul Ring. Arcane Signet, again, getting that mana fixing that we need. Explosive Vegetation, 4 mana to search your library for a land card. For 2 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped. Noble Hierarch, taps for either black, red, or green, so all the colors that we need. Savage Ventmaw, when it attacks, it creates 3 red, 3 green, and you get to keep that until the end of your turn. So, bit of a ramp, I don't know if you call it ramp, but temporary ramp at the very least. Frontier Siege for 4 mana. It's an enchantment that when it enters, you can choose Khans or Dragons. Khans says the beginning of your main phases add 2 green to your mana pool. So again, that's 2 extra mana. That can be a big ramp. Otherwise, if you choose Dragons, whenever a creature with flying enters battlefield under your control, you may have it fight target creature you don't control. We do have quite a few dragons that'll be entering the battlefield, so you can use that as a destruction piece. So you have the flexibility depending on what you want to do. Rivers of the Claw, 3 mana. It's a 3/3 with Menace, and it can tap to add 2 mana in any combination of colors to cast dragon creature spells. And then you can also, once a turn, you may cast a dragon spell from your graveyard. That's nice for the recursion, and also from the standpoint of 2 mana to help you ramp quite a bit faster. Command Sphere, 3, to be able to get any color you need. They went this way, search your library for a basic land card, put on battlefield tapped, plus you get to investigate. Recross Path for 3 mana, similar deal. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. Put that card into play and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Clash with an opponent. If you win, return it to its owner's hand. Each clashing player reveals a top card of his or her library, then puts that card on the top or bottom. The player wins if his or her card had a higher converted mana cost. Now again, we're running quite a few dragons, quite a few cards with high mana value, so it's quite possible that you'll win that. So it's sort of the same as like a They Went This Way or a Cultivate or something like that, where you're paying 3 to get 1 land, but you now also have the chance to return it to your hand, be able to play it again. So that's nice. Scale Nurturer, 2 mana for a 0/2. It taps to add green. When you spend this mana to cast a dragon spell, you gain 2 life. Very nice. Now we get into kind of disrupting our opponent's plans. That's how to ramp and get our package up and running. This is how we make sure that our opponents are not getting ahead of us. Final Vengeance, 1 mana, you get to exile a creature. Assassin's Trophy, 2 mana to destroy target permanent, and they get to search for a land in return. Wear Down, it can either destroy 1 artifact or enchantment, but if you allow them to draw a card, you can destroy 2 of their artifacts or enchantments. Abrade, either 3 damage or destroy an artifact, classic. Bolt Bend, spell costs 3 less to cast if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, so again, your commander would work for that. So in that case, you'd only have to pay 1 red. Change the target spell or ability with a single target. This is a really cool way in red. Your opponents may not see it coming, but say someone goes to destroy your commander or one of your other dragons, you can use that to instead like switch the target to one of their creatures and destroy it. So it's almost like a counter spell, but in red. So that's pretty cool. Come Back Wrong. I really love this card from the Duskborn set. It's destroy target creature. If a creature card is put into a graveyard this way, return it to the battlefield under your control, sacrifice at the beginning of your next end step. So not only are you getting destruction, but you're getting that creature for your turn. If you destroy something, big or has a really strong ETB or something like that, that's nice getting it under your control for the same mana value as like a murder. Vandablast, one to destroy target artifact you don't control, or you can overload it to destroy all artifacts you don't control. Crux of Fate, great flexibility on this. 5 mana, you can choose one. You can either destroy all dragon creatures or destroy all non-dragon creatures. Most of the time you're going to choose all non-dragon creatures. Most of your board will be safe because of all the dragons we have, but it can take out pretty much everything else that your opponents have. Beast Within, classic destruction spell. Reclamation, Sage, 3 mana when it enters, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Deathmark, a little not very flexible, but for only 1 mana you get to destroy target green or white creature. Yes, it's limited, but it's only 1 mana to destroy a creature. Glissa Sunslayers are last of our destruction pieces. 1 black and green for a 3/3 with first strike and death touch. And when it deals damage to a player, you can destroy target enchantment, or you can draw a card and lose 1 life. So that gives you some nice flexibility right there. Moving along, our next portion, quick pause. Our next portion, this is really just leaning into your commander stat line. This portion of it is using it as a giant club to beat up your opponents. So for 5 mana, we have Thrakus the Butcher. It's a 3/4 trample, but it says whenever it attacks, double the power of each dragon you control until end of turn. So now suddenly your commander is swinging for 14. Speaking of doubling, Twin Flame Tyrant, 5 mana for a 3/5 dragon with flying, and if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals double damage instead. That is massive. Ganax Astral Hunter, 5 mana. Whenever it or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a treasure token. So now these giant dragons that we're casting, we are getting kind of a kickback on them as well too. Dragon Master Outcast, for only 1 mana. This is the beginning of your upkeep. If you control 6 or more lands, create a 5/5 red dragon creature. With how quickly we're ramping, we'll be able to get that out quickly and be able to start producing even more flying creatures to overwhelm our opponents. For 6 mana, we get a 6/6 in Lathliss Dragon Queen. This is whenever another non-token dragon you control enters, create a 5/5 red dragon. So similar to the other one, except it's a little more specific in the fact that we're getting those 5/5 dragons, but we have to be casting other dragons. And then you can pay 2 and dragons you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So you can easily use that to buff up your commander. You pay it 3 times, so 6 mana. Now suddenly your commander is a 10/10, well, a 10/7. And if you have any of those, like the Twin Flame Tyrant or your doublers in place, now suddenly it's swinging for double damage, or like for 20 damage, which is half an opponent's life. Quite a few ways, or commander damage. You have a lot of flexibility there. Groomly the Generous, each other non-human creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So again, like I said, making your dragons, making your commander even stronger. For 2 mana, we have Lion Umbra. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and has vigilance and reach. The reach is obviously redundant on our dragons, but putting vigilance on your commander is really nice because then you can both swing in on an opponent, you can be aggro but still have it for defense. And if enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it, destroy this. So it gives your commander a second life. Overpowering Attack. It costs 5 mana, so untap all creatures you control that attack this turn. If it's your main phase, you get an additional combat after this, followed by an additional main phase. So basically, it gives you the ability to attack twice. So just like a, what's the assault? Anyway, 5 mana in red is typically the cost that you would pay to have a second combat. However, it does have free running, where you can cast it for its free running cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with your commander. Our commander will quite easily be able to swing through and deal combat damage, so now we're getting a second turn for only 3 mana, or second combat for only 3 mana. Rhythm of the Wild, creature spells you control can't be countered. This is really big for both getting your commander out, but also some combo pieces that we're going to get to in a little bit here. And non-token creatures you control have Riot, so they either enter with a +1/+1 counter or with haste, your discretion. Basilisk Caller gives a creature death touch and lifelink, which is really solid. If our commander is now, every time it's swinging for 7, it's also giving you 7 health. That's big. Full Throttle for 6 mana says after this main phase there are 2 additional combat phases. So we were talking about how it's nice to get 1 more. Having 2 more is ridiculous value. Blood Mist for 4 mana at the beginning of combat on your turn. Target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. So this, especially in conjunction with one of your abilities that like doubles the power of your creature, that's going to be a very solid effect. Either way, you're going to be doing so much damage with your commander. This is sort of a almost Voltron deck. I didn't fully lean into it being a Voltron deck, but it certainly has some of that just because of the stat line of our commander. Enduring Courage for 4 mana. Whenever another creature you control enters, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. So kind of buffs your creatures, at least temporarily. Speaking of buffing, we have Bulk Up for 2 mana. Double target creature's power until end of turn. And it has Flashback. You can cast it from your graveyard for 6 mana and double it again. So again, you pay, if you have 8 mana laying around, you can play this and flash it back. Your commander goes from 7 to 14 all the way up to 28 power. If you give it double strike, or really, I mean, if an opponent doesn't have flying to block it, they're cooked. They're done for. A little bit of protection, and this is a little different, but we have for 8 mana Sandworm Convergence. Creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. That's very nice, so we can fly in over their heads, but they can't retaliate. They have to attack on the ground. At the beginning of your end step, create a 5/5 green worm creature token to block their creatures. Then we have Quilled Great Worm. 6 mana for a 7/7 with trample, and it says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage during your turn, put that many 1/1 counters on it. You may cast this card from your graveyard by removing 6 counters from 1 creatures you control in addition to paying its other costs. So again, every time your commander attacks and ends up successfully dealing damage, he is just going to get boosted up even more. You're just giving your old boy roids, which you'll love to see it. Also, I apologize. I am getting over a cold, so I may not sound quite as good as I normally do. Primeval Bounty for 6 mana. This enchantment has a lot of flexibility. Whenever you cast a creature spell, which we'll be casting quite a few of those, you get to create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put 3 1/1 counters on target creature you control. And then it also has landfall. When a land you control enters, you gain 3 life. So regardless of what you cast, you're going to be getting some sort of value there. And last but not least, we have Snakeskin Veil. For 1 mana, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains hexproof until end of turn. That can be a way to protect your commander if somebody is trying to destroy it. Now, the final piece of this deck, and part of what, in my opinion, makes it so strong, is we do have a combo in here. There's a couple different ways you can go with this combo. I added some redundancy, so it makes it even easier to get. But first, our Tutors. We have Demonic Council for 2 mana. On its face, it tutors for a demon. We have a few demons in here, but it has Delirium, and if there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, search your library for any card. So we'll be able to get the 4 cards into our graveyard pretty quickly and then be able to tutor for anything we need. Worldly Tutor, for 1 mana, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put that card on top. There are a couple creatures that are part of this combo, so that can be nice to go get them. Ristic Tutor, 3 mana, you get a tutor unless somebody pays 2, so you do have to be careful with your timing of when you play that. Make sure an opponent doesn't have 2 mana to just counter your tutor. Grim Tutor, for 3 mana, search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, and shuffle your library and lose 3 life. Traverse the Ulvenwald. It's 1... wow. For 1 mana, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So it's kind of just a tutor on its face, or a land ramp on its face. However, again, Delirium, just like our demonic. If there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, instead search your library for a creature or land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So that can get us some of the combo pieces we need. And last, we have Profane Tutor. You pay 2, you suspend it, and then you get to search your library for a card. So those are the ways that we'll be able to look for our combo piece, our combo pieces. And then some of the alternate ways we have about going about this is we have Garna, Bloodfist of Keld for 4 mana. It says whenever another creature you control dies, draw a card if it was attacking. Otherwise, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. That can be good just in and of itself with how aggro we're going to be with attacking. If your creatures die, you do get some return value on it. Vengeful Blood Witch for 2 mana. Whenever this creature or another creature you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Similar to that, we have Blood Artist. When this creature or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So again, like I said, we have quite a bit of redundancy in here. The final 2 more pieces, similarly, we have Impact Tremors for 2 mana. It says whenever a creature you control enters this enchantment, deals 1 damage to each opponent. And Aetherflux Reservoir, everybody knows it. You know, you get the storm basically, and then once you have 50 life, you can pay 50 life and do 50 damage to target creature or player. Now, the combo in and of itself, how we're going to work it, or why we have those other pieces, is 2 creatures in particular that we are going to be looking for. Squee the Immortal and Eternal Scourge. Both of them, what makes them special is they say that you can cast them from exile. So they both cost 3 mana. You can cast them both from exile. And the final piece of our combo is Food Chain. Food Chain says, exile a creature you control, add X mana of any one color, where X is 1 plus the exiled creature's mana value. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells. So you are a little bit limited in what you can do with that mana. However, it is constantly netting you 1 extra mana. So you get infinite mana that you can use to cast creature spells. But that part doesn't matter as much as long as you have, again, like an Impact Tremors or one of your like Blood Artists or something like that. So whether it be that creature entering or that creature dying, either way, you are, I guess it wouldn't count the creature dying because exiling gets around that. However, like your Impact Tremors or the Aetherflux Reservoir, things like that, are going to give you the damage to take out your opponent. So having alternate win cons, having combos like that in the deck, in any deck really, is going to make your deck quite a bit stronger. All in all, even though Darigaaz himself is not the strongest commander, I found this deck to be quite a bit of fun to build. Shout out to Wizards of the Course. He is the subscriber that suggested we do this video. Sorry it took so long to get it done, but this is the deck build. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like this video, and there is going to be another great video on screen now that you should check out. That being said, I'll see y'all next time.